Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. What I have here is my deboned duck. I just put a little elbow grease into it, and to me, it's worth it to debone it because it makes a completely different outcome. But I mean, they all have their own benefits. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep it simple here. This is my deboned duck. Most of the effort goes into the deboning, but the actual cooking part of it is very simple and straightforward. I got some kosher salt here, and I'm just going to give it a real nice coating of kosher salt. Other than that, seasonings will be very minimal. That's pretty much all I'm going for right now. What I want to do is I'm going to be putting it into a cold pan. This is my pan here, ungreased, no oil, nothing. I'm just going to lay it skin side down into my cold pan. Spread it out here so as much skin contact going on. And I'm going to put it on the heat and let it slowly heat up. The reason for that is because I want to render as much fat as possible. If I were to sear it, put it in a hot pan, it basically, it sears it, the outside, but it kind of seals in a lot of the fat and moisture and things. So I put that salt on there. It's going to help draw out some of the moisture slowly. And by slowly bringing the heat up in the pan, it's going to allow the fat to melt before it actually sears and cooks. So a lot of the fat will be able to come out and slowly melt and work its way out. And what you end up left with is a nice, crispy, awesome, delicious skin. Probably going to be maybe 15, 20 minutes just cooking there in the pan. And then I have my oven preheated at nice and hot. Once I get my fat rendered out of the skin and I'm happy with the color on there, I'm going to flip it and then I'm going to stick it right in the oven to finish it. So now my duck is cooking there in the pan. It's going to slowly get crisped up, but I just wanted to say real quickly that this here, I have the carcass and all the bones and skin, and this is not going to waste. This is a gold mine of deliciousness here. I can render fat, and I mean, as duck fat is amazing to cook with. It's excellent to have on hand. You can make anything amazing. Good potatoes cooked in duck fat, like a fondant. You can spread it on toast if you want to, but duck fat is amazing. Excellent tool to have in the kitchen / ingredient. Also, I'm gonna make a broth out of this, make a terrine out of this with all the gelatin and collagen that's in here. There's a multitude of things that I can and will do with what's left here. So I just wanted to bring you over and show you this real quick because basically we're nowhere near being cooked, but the duck is in a pool of its own fat already. So as you can see, we've got probably a ½ inch of fat already in the bottom of the pan. So this is essentially cooking in its own fat at this point, which is perfect. We want to render as much of that fat out as possible, and that's going to give us a crispy, delicious final product. All right, so I've gotten to the point here where my duck is basically swimming in a pool of its own fat. So as you can see, the skin has shrunk way down. It looks like it's just meat, but all that skin has shrunk and is now underneath there, nice and tight and whatnot. What I'm going to do is actually drain off some of this fat carefully. Let's see if I can hold this with my tongs and ever so carefully pour off. Look at that. Look at that beautiful duck fat. Oh, could even use another ramekin here. Making a mess, of course, but another ramekin. I'm gonna drain off more of that fat. Beautiful. All right. So now that I got the fat drained off, I'm going to turn up my heat a little bit. And now we're going for a bit of color. So this will take a couple minutes, but it's going to start sizzling. As you can hear, it's already starting to go. And now we're getting to that crispy stage. Now is when things are going to get fun. It's going to start browning up, start smelling good. And yeah, let's take it to the next stage. So while that is starting to brown, it's getting nice and sizzly over there, and things are starting to happen. What I'm going to do is make a quick ratatouille sort of thing to go along with it. So grab my cutting board, get a couple of nice tomatoes here. This is just going to be a small side for basically for 2 people. So I got a couple eggplant, a couple tomatoes, grab a zucchini, a shallot, and some parsley. Now, basically, all I'm going to do is chop these all up, throw them in the pot, and let them cook real quick. So, I'm going to take my tomatoes, clean them up, take out the tops. Again, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that all of these trimmings are going to be going in to little Ziploc baggies in my freezer for a stock at some point. Nothing gets wasted here. And I'll take my eggplants, take the tops off. Now we're just kind of going kind of chunky here, and we're just going to throw all our veg here into a pot. Perfect, just like that. This is not the nicest zucchini. It's been in the fridge for a few days now. It's a little rough, but it doesn't really matter. Use what you got in your fridge. Ratatouille is just a rough country-style dish. It's very rustic, and it's basically just some chopped garden vegetables slowly stewed together. But there's so much flavor. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like vegetables, that sort of thing. There's so much flavor, and when done right, when you really appreciate the ingredients, it really something spectacular happens just by keeping it simple. And this is a prime example of that. This dish is so simple, and it's going to go really well with our simple duck. Again, the duck is just no fancy ingredients, nothing special. And just coarse chop. That in there, and we'll take our shallot, same thing. Quick peel. Go. All in one pot, super simple, just like that, no particular order. Now we're going to take that pot. Ooh, that duck is smelling good. It's starting to get nice and crispy. Put a nice big splash of olive oil. I'm going to throw that on the heat. Our duck is ready to go. Oh, look at that. Turn that right off. And that's going to go in our preheated oven. In the meantime, I might, get duck fat everywhere. It's smoking. So I'm going to get that cooking. I'm going to use that same burner because it's already nice and hot. So these veggies are just going to cook down. Ooh, that smells good. You got a nice sizzle going on there. What I'm going to do is add this is some vegetable stock that I had already made. I haven't even strained it yet. So I'm just going to put a little splash of vegetable stock in there. You can use water. Water is perfectly fine. You could use a little bit of wine, whatever. Just put some liquid in there. Get that going. What I'm going to do is add a nice pinch of salt in there. We're going to let that go and put a lid on it. All right. Now we got a lid on it and it's just going to cook down. That's it. Now that my lid's on, I'm going to turn my heat down just a touch. And my duck is just going to finish up in the oven there. So the next thing I'm going to be doing with this meal is some squash. Now this is a particular type of squash, and I forget the name. It's candy something, but it's a very sweet squash, and it's often used. You can make pies and stuff like that with it. So I'm going to trim the end here, and I'm going to use a vegetable peeler and just clean up about that much of it. Not going to be using the whole thing. Yeah, I'm only making 2 portions tonight, so there we go. That looks pretty good. Chop that off. Aside. Take these peels, move them to the side. Chop that right down the middle. There we go. Grab a spoon and scrape out all these seeds. So anyway, I'm just going to be chopping this into about 3/4, half-inch size pieces here. This is kind of a last-minute decision to be making squash here. So cutting them fairly small because everything else is going to be ready fairly soon. And I don't want this to be too far behind. Okay, so there we go. I got my squash. And I'm going to grab a pot here. Throw that in there. Wow, this smells good. Oh, yeah. I can smell the sweetness. Grab some butter. And basically the method to my madness here is that I'm going to be putting a lot of butter. So nice big chunks like that. Those, maybe even a little more. There we go. And I'm going to throw this on the heat. And we're going to let that cook down. What I'll probably do here also, because I want some liquid, is I'm going to add some more of this vegetable stock here. There we go, a little splash. And I'm going to put a lid on that. Because I want that steam to stay in there. I'm going to put that on a pretty high heat to start. Get that liquid boiling real quick. I'm going to check on my ratatouille here. Oh, that smells so good. All right. I'm going to let that go uncovered now for a little bit. The eggplant's getting a little soft. Everything, it'll get a little mushy. You got zucchini and eggplant, tomato. They all get a little on the mushy side. So basically what I'm doing at this point, turn the heat way down, and I'm just going to let some of that moisture cook off. All right, so my duck is done at this point, pretty much. And what I'm going to do, I turn the heat off on the oven. Open the door, let some of the heat out. I'm going to let it just sort of rest there in its own juices for a little bit. But what I'm also going to do is grab some Herbe de Provence. And I'm just going to give it a nice sprinkle there. Just add some aromatics. Check on my squash. That is boiling hard. Which is perfect. And I'm going to turn my heat way down on that now that it's got a good hard boil. Ratatouille looks amazing. Everything's nice and soft. All right, so my duck is done. I have it sitting there on a warm plate, and what I have is a nice big pan of drippings left here. So what I'm going to do is throw that on some heat here, and we're going to make a quick sauce with that. So now I've got my juices cooking here on the stove top. I'm going to add some balsamic vinegar, decent amount, and I'm going to want that to mostly evaporate. I'm going for a bit of a kind of a reduction here. But while that's happening, I'm going to throw in a little dab of Dijon mustard. That's going to help with the emulsification process. And some Herbe de Provence. And I'm just going to take my whisk and start mixing it together. All right, so now that our sauce is starting to thicken up, a lot of that acidity from the balsamic vinegar is reduced. Just going to get a little chunk of butter here. Put a little chunk of butter in there. And I'm just going to let that butter melt in, turn the heat off. Let's turn it into a nice sauce there. So now that our sauce is reduced and thickened, we're just gonna take it over here and run it through a strainer here real quick into a gravy boat. And it doesn't have to be a gravy boat or whatever. You can put it in anything. It's just happen to have this handy. I make a lot of sauces, so it's actually kind of cool to have this thing. I'm surprised when I actually started putting it to use. Just about every meal I make has some kind of sauce with it. All right. So I'm going to take a little bit of my pureed squash here. And then here I have my ratatouille. Don't forget to taste everything for seasoning. So there you have it. An amazing home-cooked meal, great for a weekend or anytime, really. I mean, it takes a little bit of prep work, a little bit of time, but it's one of those things that's definitely, it's kind of a special meal, but still very simple, rustic, down to earth. It tastes like summer in gardens and all that good stuff. Anyway, bon appetit. I hope you enjoy.